Hey gang, JC here, and this is the Daily Dose for Wednesday, July 6, 2011. Combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. We have great archives top of the page, eye candy, along the bottom strip here, and over in the corner, our rock and roll poll question. Yesterday's question was Casey Anthony responsible for the death of her daughter? 80% of you said yes, she killed her. 11.5% said it was an accident, as she claims, and 8% of you say that she had nothing to do with it. Okay, whatever. Today's rock and roll poll question. You know, I've been saying this for months now, that I think there's a lot of people sort of walking around acting like they still have money, but they really don't, because they're sort of afraid to admit that the bottom has fallen out of the financial situation in their particular household. So with that in mind, today's rock and roll poll question: how close are you to a financial disaster? A, I'm already there. B, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. C, I'm living comfortably. Or D, I'm rich. Please answer right there in the corner. We'll give you a running total today on the Big 550 KTRS, where Trish Gazelle and I do the noon to 3 show every weekday. Well, I'd like to say that I think that this Casey Anthony thing is beginning to subside, but the truth of the matter is I think it's just starting to pick up. There's so much going on. People still aren't over the shock of the entire situation. None of the jurors have spoken. You know, they all have book and TV deals and stuff like that. Some of the alternate jurors might start talking or something like that. 7 women, 5 men. A lot of people think she got away with murder. I think it's probably more accurate to say that the prosecution did not prove its case, and they're the ones that should have their feet held to the fire. And there's a big difference between somebody being found not guilty in a court of law and somebody who is innocent of the crime. And I think it's entirely possible that the way this whole thing shakes out is she did it all right, but they didn't convict her. Big difference between being found not guilty in a court of law and not actually having done it. National Enquirer, by the way, says that Casey Anthony is pregnant. She found out a way to have sex in jail somehow. And one of the big trending topics on Twitter yesterday was the phrase, not guilty, because people are twittering it all over the place. Can you believe it? Casey Anthony found, not guilty. There's something very large flying over my house right now. I thought the VP Fair was gone, and that's louder than usual. Okay, so with all that in mind, so yesterday, obviously, people are twittering like crazy, not guilty, not guilty. Can you believe you found her not guilty? And somebody was sort of checking the analytics on Twitter yesterday and said, look at all these not guilty things, and did not make the connection between the words not guilty and the Casey Anthony trial. The people at Entenmann's bakeries, okay, they make pretty good food, pretty good pastries and things like that. So anyhow, somebody at Entenmann's saw that trending topic and apparently didn't realize that it was connected to the case, didn't make the connection. So they tweeted the following: who's not guilty about eating all the tasty treats they want at Entenmann's bakery? The Twitter people went bizarre. Can you believe that they're doing this? They're trying to make money off of this. And somebody at Entenmann's finally said, you idiot, don't you understand why they're all... Unbelievable. Those people are in marketing. All right, Forbes.com released its list yesterday of the highest paid actresses in Hollywood, and this year there were 2 winners, Angelina Jolie and Sarah Jessica Parker, of all people, because they both made $30 million in the past year. Obviously, that Sex and the City 2 thing, people went to the movie who were fans of the TV show or the movie and just hoped that it would be good. And, of course, it closed like 3 days later. They didn't even let it run an entire week. It was so terrible. But she's got the money in her pocket, and that's all that counts. A tie for 3rd place between Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon. They both made $28 million last year, and Reese Witherspoon makes some of the worst movies ever made. Julia Roberts and Kristen Stewart tied for 5th place with $20 million, followed by Katherine Heigl, $19 million, Cameron Diaz, $18 million, Sandra Bullock, $15 million, and Meryl Streep at $10 million last year. All right, so the people at Comedy Central aren't stupid. The people running Charlie Sheen's camp aren't stupid. And it looks like 2.5 Men, when it resurfaces next fall with Ashton Kutcher, will be victimized yet again by Charlie Sheen. The Comedy Central people say they are going to do the roast, and they're going to broadcast it on September 19th. That just happens to be the same night that Ashton Kutcher makes his debut on 2.5 Men. I will predict right now, as I did yesterday, that this will be the largest audience for Comedy Central in the history of that channel, and it'll be some of the biggest numbers ever in the history of cable TV. You watch. Scientists have confirmed that belly buttons are disgusting. Researchers took samples from 100 people's belly buttons and found 1,400 species of bacteria, some of which were previously undiscovered strains. There's nothing like surviving a natural disaster to make you take a look at your life and say, I need a divorce. According to reports out of Japan, since the earthquake and tsunami in March, the divorce rate is up. It's tripled. New study, products most likely to break down. Side-by-side refrigerators, that's where the fridge and the freezer are next to each other, laptops, and riding lawnmowers. Another new survey says dating and cell phones don't usually mix. Bad ringtones were named the least sexy cell phone accessory. They even beat out Bluetooth headsets, which came in second. Ever since Jason Sudeikis on Saturday Night Live started wearing that Bluetooth thing along with Kristen Wiig when two a-holes go by a Christmas tree, two a-holes try to adopt a baby. I had Jason Sudeikis on the air about the time that bit was really, really peaking on Saturday Night Live, and I told him, I said, everybody bought these Bluetooth things that hang on the side of your ear. Nobody will wear them anymore because you have ruined it. And he said, yeah. He says, I know. Anyhow, wearing a cell phone belt clip came in third. Putting an ugly faceplate on your phone came in fourth. 89% of people say they constantly glance at their cell phone, and it's the most offensive phone behavior on a date. That's 86%. That beat out sending a text or taking a call. You got to watch your behavior when you go out on a date, particularly a first date, because as I've often said, the only objective in going out on a first date is, say it with me, JC learned the hard way, the only objective on a first date is to get a second date. Watch your behavior. 33% of people have left a date early because the other person was too obsessed with their cell phone, but 26% said they actually don't mind if their date checks in once in a while. 25% of women have dumped someone versus a text, versus 15% of men. 73% prefer to set up a date on a phone call rather than through text, and 68% say you shouldn't check in on Facebook when you arrive on a date. George W. Bush turned 65 years old today, or as he calls it, nearly half a century. Other birthdays today include Shelley Hack. I mentioned that because she was one of the late Charlie's Angels, the ones that sort of came in towards the dying days of the show. But Shelley Hack is in one of the best movies ever made. It's a Martin Scorsese movie that almost nobody saw because people went, Jerry Lewis and Robert De Niro? What? And just freaked out. The movie is called The King of Comedy. Very, very difficult to find. Sandra Bernhard is in this movie, and it is just full of misfits, psychopaths, egomaniacal, very dark, pre-Larry Sanders aged talk show hosts. It's one of the best movies I have ever seen in my life, and almost nobody has seen it. And it's got Robert De Niro. And if I told you that there's a Robert De Niro movie directed by Martin Scorsese, you'd probably say, well, I've seen it. I know I've seen it. And almost nobody has seen The King of Comedy. If you can find it, it's great. And Shelley Hack plays the secretary for Jerry Lewis, who plays a talk show host. And she is absolutely fantastic in it, as is Robert De Niro in the role of Rupert Pupkin. I am telling you, if you get a chance to see The King of Comedy, if you can find it, get it. It's one of the most amazing movies I've ever seen. And it was on this date in 1978 that former New York cop Eddie Mahoney changed his name to Eddie Money, and if he hadn't gotten into the music business, today we'd have nobody to play at state fairs and rib fests. All right, it was 12 years ago today that, well, actually 12 years ago this month, that I popped up for the first time for my first very brief stint on the Big 550 KTRS, and we have a picture from that morning show group, including Dan Deerdorf, Ozzie Smith, Wendy Weiss, and a couple of other people. That's on Eye Candy, and it's right below what you're looking at right now. It's pretty freaky to see. All I remember from that summer is that it was hotter than hell. The tap water was coming out almost hot because we had something like 2 straight weeks of temperatures, at around or above 100 degrees. And then I also remember everybody was just going completely berserk over this the Y2K thing, where all your computers were going to stop and the power grid was going to go out. And of course, virtually none of that happened because people went nuts and started rewriting code, thus the movie Office Space, one of the other great movies made, by the way. All right, again, our rock and roll poll question today: how close are you to a financial disaster? A, I'm already there. B, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. C, I'm living comfortably. Or D, I'm rich. Right over there. Please answer, and we'll give you the totals tomorrow here at jcontheline.com. That's it, JC's Daily Dose for Wednesday, July 6th, 2011, a combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. We talk to you every day along with Trish Gazelle. We have Eric Mink. We have Smash, comedian Joe Marlotti, and our legal eagle Scott Sherman, and a couple of surprises every once in a while. That's every day, noon to 3 on AM on the Big 550 KTRS. In the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.